back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. Yet again, we've got George McMillan III. George, welcome back. Say hello to everyone. Button up that shirt and get ready for this comedy. George, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Hello, everyone.
As always, George is great. Everybody who's new here, hi, welcome. You should check out the George playlist. You should also check out some other videos on the Working Brother channel. And also, this is a comedy show. Nothing we say here has anything to do with reality. Any resemblances are purely coincidental, right, George?
Yeah, we just make stuff up to protect the guilty.
Speaking of, we've got a bunch of things to get through today. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but we've got Yuri Bezmenov here. Some people might know who Yuri Bezmenov is. Do you want to give us a little intro into who he is before we play what he has to say?
Yeah, I just want everybody just to be familiar with who he is. Most people already know who he is. He's famous KGB defector in the mid-1980s to Canada and then the U.S. He went on a whole bunch of different shows and talked about how the Soviet KGB plot was to demoralize Western society over time and debilitate it. And a lot of people hear it in the last, 10 years or whatever, has been played a lot on YouTube. It's everybody, a lot of people seem to have already watched his videos. And they're like, oh, wow, that's scary. Is that what the Russians are doing now? Oh, no. The whole purpose of the 7P plan papers was that it was fait accompli in the mid-1980s as he was explaining this. It had already happened. The Frankfurt School had already moved into the United States, took over while they were in the Vietnam War protest and civil rights protest era, part of the leftist movements, both in the United States and in Western Europe, especially France, Italy, and Spain. And yeah, when we get into the other books, Alan Bloom's Closing the American Mind, and then Barkow, Tooby, and Kosmita's The Adapted Mind, you'll see, one was in 1988, the other one was in 1992. You'll see why I'm saying it was already, the destruction of the university system had already taken place as he was speaking in the mid to late 80s.
We're going to play a bit of him now, but I just want to give a shout out to the Inception going on. We've got live chat as this premieres. Thank you to everyone who is in the live chat. We are here recording in the future, basically, for you guys. Let's find this video. There we go. Yuri Bezmenov.
So we have religion, we have education, we have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations, unions, and finally we have law and order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? These are the...
This looks a lot like your 7Ps, George.
Areas of application of subversion. What it means exactly? In case of religion, destroy it, ridicule it, replace it with various sects, cults, which bring people's attention, faith, whether it is naive, primitive, doesn't really matter. As long as the basically accepted religious dogma is being slowly eroded and taken away from the supreme purpose of religion, to keep people in touch with the supreme being, that serves the purpose. Therefore, replace it, accepted, respected religious organizations with fake organizations. Distract people's attention from the real faith and attract them to various different faiths. Education. Distract them from learning something which is constructive, pragmatic, efficient. Instead of mathematics, physics, foreign languages, chemistry, teach them history of urban warfare, natural food.
Comedy. Classics. George? So that's Bezmenov telling us,
Yeah.
when was this? Let me check. When was this? In 83. So you're saying it was already completed by 83.
Yeah.
And the closing of the American Mind by Alan Bloom is what you're referencing.
Correct. Yeah, that was
You
published
want to
in
close in?
1988. Yeah, that was published in 1988. He goes on to say that the whole that book, he talks about how the college students became very, very opinionated and negative against Western culture, and that the the leftist groups moved into the soft philosophical and social sciences that hadn't obtained or hadn't developed objective measures and standards, and then gradually throughout the classical Greek political canon of Plato, Aristotle, Cicero, things of that nature, and supplanted it with just woke, we'd call it now woke nonsense. Gender and racial studies, Marxist and feminist literature, things like that. And he was thoroughly disgusted at the decline of the Western university system by the time he died in the early 90s. Then he wrote in that book, I put it in your chat last month, Strauss and Cropsey's text, History of Political Philosophy, where they said that the nomos physis distinction was taken out of the philosophy departments had stopped talking about that as the focus of their curricula in the 80s and 90s, and Leo Strauss thought it needed to be put back in. So then when you go to the next book, the Adapted Mind with by Barkow, Tooby, and Kosmides, they start, they're writing from the field of evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology. They argue, and I've mentioned this before, that the physical engineering sciences have compatible methodologies and compatible frameworks that they can work together to build cars, bridges, electronic gadgets. And the biological sciences all have common methodologies, in medicine and biology and things like that. And they developed a common evolutionary biology, neuroevolutionary psychology framework that they called the integrated causal model of those two disciplines. And then they said, once you get into the social sciences in social psychology, anthropology, sociology, then the social sciences are a complete logically incoherent mess. And he argues that they totally abandoned the scientific project. So that's written in 1992. And that indicates that everything that Yuri Bezmenov had been talking about in the mid to late 1980s, it was already accomplished in the university system in the West. Then I want to go to, I wrote that in that 7P plan paper I wrote up today for some people. Then go to Lipsitz, some social requisites for democracy. Just flash up the first page. I just want people to know that it's there. You can look that up and download it.
We shared it in the chat, or actually on the main channel on Telegram. So if you go find the Working Brother on Telegram, I have a prompt for that. Let me do this. Hold on. Telegram prompt. If you go to Telegram and find the Working Brother, one of the things you'll find there, if you scroll back far enough, is this PDF.
Yeah. Okay. What
Homework from
what
George.
is today? Yeah. What is today?
Today
Thursday
is the 20th, technically,
Yeah, but
depending
it's
on
all right.
where
Thursday going into
where we
Friday.
are.
All right. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I'm going to give everybody 7 days to read that. How's that?
I don't know when I'll be uploading this. It might be 2-3 days from now, but we'll see. I'm sure some people already, I'm sure, flipped through it because many people were glad to see homework from you, even though.
Yeah, we're gonna test people on this.
Yeah. I just want to flash a meme up there because we've been a little too serious for too long. This is why one of the reasons that I wear the shades when I'm recording, so that people don't see what I look like underneath with my guests rambling. Nothing personal, George. Nothing to do with you.
No, I don't take it personally at all.
You shouldn't. This is has nothing to do with reality. This,
Yeah, I know.
everything we talk about here. Speaking of, we've got
I don't hold
Alan
I don't hold
Bloom's
grudges for too many years.
closing of the mind. We've got a 5-hour video here by the Manhattan Institute with a panel discussing it for the enthusiasts. You can go find that. George sent that link. Yeah. George?
Yeah.
So what are we moving on to next?
Yeah. Go to Lipsitz, Social Requisites for Democracy, and just leave it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote that in 1959. He's writing from the area of political and economic modernization theory. After World War II, there was a big push to develop the developing world, the third world of Latin America and Africa. The United States was competing for those spaces against the Soviet Union and the spread of communism, trying to stop the domino theory from going into the developing world. So
domino theory being, for those that are not aware, the theory that communism will take over countries like dominoes, right, George?
correct.
I did my American propaganda history.
Right. It has nothing to do with pizza. So they one of the big issues at the time was, do you need to liberalize a polity first, move it away from autocrats for it to economically develop, so liberalize it politically and then economically, or does a society have to get to a certain level of economic development before you can liberalize the political system? So he was writing Social Requisites for Democracy. He was saying you have to have a certain level of economic growth before you start opening up the elections. So you really kind of have to guide it through the early stages of Rostow's growth theories. You need to start bringing in some major infrastructural projects on how to get the raw materials to the markets and export them so you can get some money back, and then start value adding to those raw materials so you can actually start building up your infant industry. So it's typically been an export-led growth strategy, then followed by an industrial investment strategy, or import substitution investment strategy, an ISI strategy. So that was the arguments back then. And towards the end of that paper, he starts arguing that his model should be advanced in the future. And in the end of it, he starts talking about using Aristotle's 6 forms of government. Now, this is written in 1959. During the 70s and 80s, you would start to see the appearance of dynamic growth theories, especially with the more sophisticated Solow Swan models hitting up about 1980. I forget exactly when. And then the Arrow-Debreu models and general equilibrium theory. So then by the 1980s, especially with the Solo Swan models that you pretty much use for the basis of mine, it's integrating technology, infrastructural, telecommunications improvements with population growth factored in. So right there, you got Aristotle's 6 forms of government, what I'm calling the per capita GNP function of relating economic growth to population growth. Then he was talking about how to move third world countries towards second world or first world status. Back then, the second world countries was the communist satellite countries, kind of like the one you live in now. But now
the one I was born in. The one I was born in.
The one that you were born in, yeah. So what I did was, since the Cold War was over, when I was developing this in the 90s, I just changed the first, second, and third world, added a fourth world failed state, and then just divided it up into 2 gradations of more developed countries, 2 gradations of less developed countries, because by the 1990s, you're starting to see failed states. So they were worse than third world or failed states. So if you take per capita GNP function economic growth over population growth proportions, yeah, you get first world countries that are more developed countries that are higher economic growth, lower population growth. Third and fourth world countries, less developed countries, tend to be lower economic growth, much higher population growth. So those relate on a tight versus catastrophically loose wage labor rate continuum. So now you can take that tight versus catastrophically loose wage labor rate continuum, and you can spread that to all the other frameworks as well, because then liberal democracies only exist in the tighter wage labor markets, higher economic growth, low population growth. So you get a middle class with the medium income levels or modal income levels. So then I was able to operationalize. I was able to advance Lipsik's model to a full-blown model, because Aristotle's 6 forms of government covers the full range of human behavioral possibilities in a macro political sense. You have the 4-category geopolitical form model that covers the full range of human behavioral possibilities in a geopolitical sense. And then you have your economic growth, population growth levels that act like a water level between the 2 yardsticks, because it's not which government you want, it's the economic population growth proportions, your wage labor rate, that determines pretty much which kind of government you get. So whichever way that this moves tight up or down towards a tighter or looser wage labor scale, you're going to end up with either a democracy, a mob rule democracy, an oligarchy, or a tyranny, or a plutocracy would be somewhere in there. So his Lipsitz model was actually easily upgradable. With that, since Aristotle's 6 forms of government is on a constructive, destructive behavioral dynamic, then economic theory is on virtuous or vicious economic growth, non-growth cycles. Also has its constructive versus destructive behavioral dynamics. Since those things line up, and then psychological personality theories are also based on constructive versus destructive behavioral dynamics, you can actually line all of those things up, and you can completely come to get the whole range of philosophical and social sciences into a singular overarching framework system. Yeah, that's just the 3 frameworks there. In another slide set, I got all 5. So when Tooby and Kosmides were talking about their integrated causal model in the adapted mind, well, now you can have the integrated causal model of them as your instinctual drive constant based on a domain-specific two-gender premise, related to all the other frameworks. Eric Fromm's productive versus sadomasochistic dichotomy, Aristotle's proper and perverted form dichotomy, per capita G and P function, and then that equals that's going to put a country in one of the four geopolitical categories, whatever that works out to be. So all of those frameworks were possible by 1992. But what did the social sciences do? They got rid of the scientific project, and they've gone absolutely downhill in the 30 years since. In other words, yes, I pretty much single-handedly, well, except for the field of economics, outproduced everybody in the university system. I mean, on the human sciences, not the science and engineering side, of course, but just pertaining.
Because it's humor. Because it's humor.
Right. This is a joke. Yeah. So what the Frankfurt School and the New Left did was totally destroy the university system, and the dates of publication of Bloom's book in 1988, and then Barkow, Tooby, and Kosmides' Adapted Mind in 1992. They wonder what happened. So I'm writing the 7P plan to explain that. But it operationalizes Yuri Bezmenov's idea, because I don't know, people don't realize that everything Yuri Bezmenov talked about already happened.
I got a question for you, George, because you often in our talks talk about the left and the new left and the extreme left and so on. How would you categorize yourself or your view or this theory, overarching theory that you're like? Would that be like a centrist, or is it right, or is it like far right? How would you categorize your approach to the whole situation?
Oh, conservative. So it'd be right. So it'd be, religiously based. Okay, I'm not the most religious person, but you have to have some kind of religion in society, so that it's like Yuri Bezmenov says, it's really destroyed after communism fell apart in the Soviet Union, and they became the Russian Federation after that. Putin started spending a lot of money in trying to reinstitute the Orthodox Church, because it's communism going over to the atheism and the matriarchal conception of the family. It just led to an absolute complete collapse of society. So to revive society, he had to revive several things. So he's in the process of that, and then the American far left is taking over the United States. Well, they loved the Soviet Union when it was Marxist, atheist, communist. Now they hate Russia. Well, they hate Russia because when they started rebuilding the Orthodox Church. I mean, it's so obvious. What's her name? That's was it Gloria Trandholm? I think her name is the Denmark lady. I
don't know.
She's I think she got kicked off of YouTube. But she went in. She did a few videos back in, I'm going to say 2016ish, on how she went to Russia and there was an Orthodox Church revival. So I should have that someplace. I think I downloaded that because, of course, YouTube wanted to shadow ban her and get rid of her.
Yeah. George, did you have something?
Oh
to say
yeah, no,
about
I
it?
was done. I was waiting for your humor.
Oh, that was just I was flashing memes. I got used to you not reacting to the memes. If you want to react to a meme, I've got a meme that you can react to from the Political Compass. Reject modernity, embrace tradition. How do you feel about the Houthis blocking off the Red Sea from all kinds of things?
Oh, the U.S. wanted to put sanctions on Russia and China, so they've reciprocated by making the West go all the way around the Cape of Good Hope. So yeah, that's if the Anglosphere is going to play a maritime choke point strategy, well, they can do that too.
Yeah, what can I say? It's not surprising to see the Houthis team up with BRICS. Also, South Africa is playing serious games recently, from what I hear. The 7P plan of the left, Yuri Bezmenov fait accompli by the 1980s. You wanted to skim through this write-up that you also have sent along. You want to tell us what's in here?
I wrote a paper up for somebody today, and I went ahead. Ann Vandersteel and Greg Sawman Sawyer, the former Navy SEAL and former federal air marshal, had mentioned the Yuri Bezmenov thing today. So yeah, I just wrote that up and sent it back, just as a long comment, among some other papers. Yeah, just to let them know that, because I've been doing the 7P plans and posting it in a common chat board, that everything Yuri Bezmenov said was already done basically as the time he was reporting that. Nobody, I don't see anybody really talking about it. Alan Bloom, and Tubin Kosmidas hadn't watched Yuri Bezmenov, so they didn't relate the two. But since I was already working on the UBT when people started posting the old Yuri Bezmenov videos on YouTube, well, I can immediately relate to two. Because in the field of philosophy, they should have, completely wiped out the Hume-Smith model. We'll put up my my 3 macro framework slide set.
3 macro framework slide set. That would be this tab.
Yeah, that one.
Do you have any specific page you want to go to?
Yeah, because go back. Okay, yeah, just go to the top and just flip through the first couple ones. We'll just go over the first few. All right, yeah.
Should I do the British accent again? Should I do the British accent again?
No. You can do it in Serbian if you want. The Serbian is the greatest thing ever existed.
I don't think I can pull off a Serbian accent. My accent has been too saturated.
All right. So
I can do British or I can do Texan. I can't do between.
You can do Texan?
I might. I don't know. What do you think? How does this sound, boy?
I could go get some real Texans here.
Let's stick to offending people with our political humor, not our racial impressionism. So
I don't think anybody here really cares.
I know they don't. They're not here to be offended.
Yeah.
Go on, George. Tell us about your slides.
The Texans are almost like the Serbians. They think that they are the greatest people on the face of the planet.
Did you know that apparently there was a bunch of Serbs among the Texans at the Alamo? I did not know that until recently. I did not know that until recently, but apparently there was a bunch of Serbs at the Alamo. So there's that as far as weird Texas-Serbia connections. Let's get back to the premise. and the philosophical theory is paralleled with a series of empirical frameworks.
Yeah, the big deal here was, had the social sciences could have just, this is just, the scientific method is a priori hypothesis, testing, careful observation, and then ex post analysis and theoretical reformulation phases. So if the Enlightenment theories were the a priori hypothesis to the great ideological experiments of the 20th century, then once communism collapsed in the 90s, the whole Rousseau, Marx, Engels thought lineage should have been wiped out in the philosophical and social sciences and should have been replaced by the Hume-Smith, the Montesquieu Hume-Smith thought lineage. And if you did that, well, then you would parallel that with a series of updated frameworks. The series of updated frameworks would be the post-Darwinian, post-Watson and Crick integrated causal model of Tooby and Cosmides, Eric Fromm's productive versus sadomasochistic character orientation dichotomy in psychology, Aristotle's 6 forms of government. It's unsurpassed after 2,500 years. And then the solo swan models and the per capita GNP function, and then the 4-category geopolitical form model. See, by just updating Lipset in 1959, you get 3/5 of that right off the bat. So getting a Cartesian style model of the whole social sciences is actually easy. And yet the university system just went into chaos. The field of philosophy hasn't been able to, can no longer advance their own discipline. The university system's just destroyed because of the Frankfurt School and Derrida and Foucault.
So basically, you're a right-wing extremist, is what I'm understanding.
Right. And a misogynist.
And you're happy to box yourself into that category.
Yeah, well, why not? Hey, if you're gonna mansplain, you might as well be beside.
If you're gonna mansplain, George, everybody's enjoying your comedic awakening. Yeah. Let's put it that way. This was sent in, I believe, by Vex. It could be by Citizen 1001. This is a classic. We don't need to comment on it. Everybody knows what it looks like. Everybody's seen the meme. We lived through it for a couple of years. George, how is Texas nowadays? You got them monkeypox?
No, they outlawed that here.
They went full Lukashenko. Remember when Lukashenko was like, "There's no COVID," like I'm outlawing COVID. Nobody in Belarus got COVID.
Well, if you don't pay attention to it, it goes away. It doesn't affect you. Yeah, that was my experience.
I thank God did not have any close encounters with it. So, George, are we done for today? I think we're done for today.
Yeah, we're done for today.
I'm just gonna flash a meme up of the worst Olympics in history, officially, because this is definitely the worst opening ceremony of the Olympics, not the one we recently saw. And that is going to be the last ever joke about the Olympics on the Working Brother channel.
Oh, it was done in black and white.
Yeah, that's not why. George, is there anything you'd like to tell people other than do your homework?
Yeah, read Social Requisites, Democracy by Lipset, 1959, and Tooby and Cosmides, Psychological Foundations of Culture. Both can be downloaded. If you read that, you'll know how easy it is for me to generate a unified theory of the philosophical and social sciences. It's actually simple.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Thank you, everyone who stuck around to the end. Like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you later. Have a good one, everyone.
All right. Ciao.